Krista, Krista.
Talk about the two-way twisting.
Krista, Krista.
One reason to take leadership seriously is because the chair and vice chair of this organization, Miami YPN, are invited to the NAR Leadership Advance, and all of our guests are because of the ability for us to go. So when you're chair, vice chair, or president, vice president-elect in this instance, you get these trips and you meet these amazing people. And the next two guests, Krista Clark, when were you NAR YPN chair? I should know this, I'm sorry. 2017? Okay, I didn't know it, thank God. And then I met Krista Becker, who at the time was Krista Knight, who also found your husband on a trip through NAR, correct? So there's so many amazing relationships that you can make, I'm so excited for these two to present. I've looked up to them for many years. So without further ado, Krista Becker and Krista Clark.
Okay, can you guys hear us? We might not need this, I don't know.
Yeah, well, we'll talk towards it. So we're the Kristas, Krista. I'm Krista Clark. I am from Des Moines, Iowa.
My name's Krista Becker. I'm originally from California, and I relocated to San Antonio, Texas in 2018.
All right.
We originally met probably like 2014 or 15 in California when I was involved with the Young Professionals Network there. And somebody was like, oh, Krista, and it became a hashtag and a thing, and so that's where you came up with Krista.
We will go ahead and I don't know how to, sorry. I also should have prefaced this with if I get off the stage without cursing in a major way, it's gonna be an accomplishment. It's my biggest downfall. I swear I'll try not to.
Sorry, Kevin,
but
we
here
weren't
I
aware
am.
it was being recorded.
Exactly. So find a niche, not a nation. You can't be everything to everyone.
So what is a niche market? A niche market is for specialists of a particular area in a real estate market. You could find a certain group of people, or you could find a demographic or a property type. That would be a niche market. And that's just to help leverage your expertise to distinguish yourself outside of all the other realtors that are in your area.
Why find your niche market? When your priorities are clear, your decisions are easy.
So focusing on what's natural to you. For myself and my husband, we've been involved in a lot of Airbnbs, so it's very natural for us to find that our niche market, and so we've capitalized on that this year, especially with the way second homes have gone. I think that it's really important that if you're passionate about it and you're interested in it, you're going to do a better job of relaying all that information to your clients.
Yeah, and I think when you start, say I decided tomorrow that I want to sell luxury real estate. I mean, I live in Iowa. There's not a lot of luxury real estate to sell. That's not something that comes naturally to me. So it'd be a lot of work to do that. But if I decide, getting into the business, I decided that I wanted to sell multifamily properties, and that's how my mind works. I have a mind for numbers, and I myself buy multifamily properties, so it's natural to me, and I sound like I know what I'm talking about when I do that. So finding the ideal client. So same, Krista and I actually always have this conversation because one of the first things that we talked about is firing a client. And she thought I was crazy when I told her about that. But if you're using all of your energy on one client, think about how much you're neglecting the clients that deserve your energy, right? So,
or what you're missing out on because you're giving your energy to the wrong group of people.
Absolutely. So for me, I know that, if my phone rings and I see the name roll across it and I'm oh, I don't want to answer this call, that client is not for me. So I'm moving on. But
speaking of that, I'll give you an example. I was referred a client this week, and as a $1 million buyer, you want to help everybody, right? You think that you're being referred this buyer, and they are sending you this referral. You have to take care of them and service them. We had a buyer from San Diego. He was a veteran, so we obviously are a military city in San Antonio. And when he purchased, we contracted a 1075 contract for him, and we got it for 1025. And it was 20 acres and almost a 4,000 square foot house, and it was about 15 years old. When we got the inspection report, it was only 8 pages. And my husband and I were like, wow, that's amazing. Only 8 pages for this super large house. It's really old. And all that it really needed, if you actually went to do it and you didn't repair it, would be replacing one HVAC system and one pool pump. maybe $8,000 to $10,000 worth of work. The buyer responded and said, I think that you should ask the seller to demolish the shit box on the property and sell us the land. And I was like, did he just say that that house was a shit box? Like, it's $1 million house and it's on 20 acres and you're talking about subdividing 17 of these acres and selling them all for $100,000 lots and you're worried about, okay. So at the end of the day, what it came to was his expectations were not serious and he wasn't practical about purchasing real estate, and every time his text message would come through, I mean, he was calling and texting us up until midnight, and it was just unbelievably miserable for us for that week-long period. After the first contract canceled, and he wanted the seller to reduce the price to $900,000, so $125,000 off of our contract value for $8,000 worth of work. We fired him, and we didn't look back. And I had the same conversation with the agent that I'm having with you now. It was absolutely terrible working with this person. Every time they spoke to us, they spoke down to us, they demeaned us, and they absolutely made us feel like we weren't doing a good job when we're providing all of this information for them. So I definitely think firing the client, finding the ideal client is very important to staying productive and in a positive mindset.
Allow yourself to enjoy it. It's authentic. So again, going back to like, if you find a niche that is natural to you, it's a lot less work, basically. And I think it also helps with burnout. Like, if you're always like on, and if you're always trying hard, and if you're always trying to please that person that isn't really like, you can't please them, then you burn out faster. And I think we've all been there. I've definitely been in that burnout phase. And when that happens to me, I just refocus on what's my niche and what comes natural to me.
Well, and as soon as you let go of those bad clients, you're immediately going to find your business, that void, filled with something better, somebody that appreciates you and your services and that wants to work with you. The next thing is, when you're truly an expert, you'll gain instant trust. So I think it's really important for your credibility that you're not trying to sell something that you have no idea about. So if I have never sold farm and ranch, I'm not going to go try to sell farm and ranch with mineral rights, because holy shit, that could cost my clients a lot of money if they don't know anything, if I know nothing about mineral rights. So I think that it's very important that you are very specific to what you know, and then finding what you're passionate about will just couple with that.
And to that, going to the next one, knowing the subject matter is less effort. And using that same example, like if something comes up about mineral rights, how much effort is it for me to actually educate myself on that so I feel like I'm advising my client properly? Yeah. It's just, sometimes it's not worth that extra effort. So stick to what you know.
And then it's easier to brand yourself. I mean, all of your mission statements and your values and your core values are going to be so much more personable if it's actually truly just if it's a brand that a passion that you're working with. I think it's very important for your brand.
And it helps you know where you're going. So like if it's, I think the quote before this was like, your decisions are easier to make when you know where you're going. So focus, plan, and strategy to market intentionally, same thing. You're not, like, you can't be everything to everyone. So if you own a niche, then you know exactly where to market, how to market, and what to market.
Yeah, so for example, if we're marketing like lake houses, we're not going to market that to the everyday consumer. There must be some place that we're going to know that everybody's looking for that information for a lake house. For us in San Antonio, we know that there are certain groups on Facebook for our realtors, and those are there for them to utilize specific niches in our area. Standing out from the crowd. I think it's really important, and something I learned from Nick. Like, you did the stand-up paddleboard thing, and it was something that was very passionate for him, so it became a nice, easy way for him to transition and then stand out from everybody else. So he's not just the realtor that's selling you a house, but he's taking you out on a stand-up paddleboard tour after that. I have different ideas for how your niche could actually fill into your void with real estate.
What is your niche market?
This is a fun one.
Choose the niche that you enjoy, where you can excel and stand a chance of becoming an acknowledged leader. Sorry, got it?
So this is where we're talking about all of the different types of niches. This is a big, you guys should screenshot this if you can. These are different types of niches, and I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about some demographics. So for me in Military City, like I talked to you guys about, we obviously have a lot of military relocation. It ends up being about 30% of our market every year. So because of that, once I moved to San Antonio, I instantly became very familiar with the military bases. I started learning all about the military relocation certification and getting that. And then I started using that. So now, because I have these military relocation referral clients, I have been able to get more military referrals from my clients that are posting my name in different Facebook groups or in different boards at their bases because they had a good experience with me from one realtor sending it to me through YPN. So it's very important that you take the time to know your demographic, and then once you make that your niche, you're learning everything about that. What are they doing? Where do they hang out? What groups are they on?
And at the same time, you're also going through that experience of that transaction, so you know what to look out for the next time, and maybe they're like VA financing and things like that. You just naturally gravitate towards that.
One idea for like newlyweds, one of our agents in our office does at the like the bridal shows, they do a new spouse, new house slogan, and they do like every time that comes to town, they're doing that. I know you could definitely do the same with celebrity concerts, that kind of stuff.
The next category is real estate experience, so property management, tenant owners, first-time buyers and sellers. And for me, this is where I gravitate. This is my niche. So starting in I've sold my entire career. It feels like it's been forever, but since 2007, I've sold multifamily properties. And not just multifamily properties. And I think when you're thinking of a niche, like it's easy to just pick one of these, but sometimes you need to drill it down even further. So not just multifamily properties, but I don't sell multifamily properties in the city. I sell multifamily properties like 30 to 45 minutes outside of the city. Because I know, number one, there's not as many agents selling in those areas. And number two, it's what I feel comfortable buying, so then it's what I feel comfortable selling. So like for me, in those areas, the occupancy rates are high. You don't have to worry about, like you do in the city, like someone building a building right next to yours, and then now you're cutting rents, trying to get tenants in the older building versus the newer building. You have your pick of tenants there. And then also, it's just like there's not as many people trying to buy there. So for me, that's what I know, that's what I buy, that's what I sell. And it's basic, I would say it's about 95% of my business.
And I would say, especially with COVID, like obviously a lot of our markets have shifted, right? So everybody's markets are different. We've seen a lot of our property management clients sell off their properties in the last 16 months, 18 months, because they're able to do so with a lot of equity and capitalize on it. So for anybody with a property management business, if you don't realize that you're probably missing out on 10 to 20% of turnover every year, you should be reaching out to your property management owners, and you should also be trying to help your tenants if they're inquiring on buying a house, putting them into a house. So I think that it's really cool when you open your business like that, you'll end up working with property management, and that can also spiral into your sales.
And I think a lot of times, like your niche, like we've talked about, stems from what you're doing. So I know with you guys, selling a vacation rental has really spiraled into being able to manage some of that too, correct?
Yeah, so when my husband and I, he'd already owned one in the Virgin Islands in St. Thomas, and we bought one in Port Aransas in August of 2019. We paid $399 for it, we furnished it, we put it in a pool heater, so we were probably all in for like $450. We sold that in April for $706, no commissions, buyer paying title. And then that turned around, and the people, we had put together such a system. Like I had literally hand decorated every part of this, picked all the paints. Like this property was like to die for. It was not even anywhere we enjoyed vacationing, but the whole process of buying the property, decorating it, and then short-term renting it was amazing, and it's something that I've become really passionate about. So now we've been able to do that. When we sold our vacation rental, they're actually paying us 20% a month to manage it for them. So I had 90,000 in bookings for the year that I had already gotten for us, and they're like, oh, we'll pay you 20% to manage it. I was like, the bookings that I already got from it, okay, you got it. We're starting a short-term rental company now. So it's really easy for that to kind of spiral into it. I've even had people tell me that from real estate, they've started side businesses like landscaping and then offering that as a service to their clients. I mean, you name it. You guys can really, really dig deep and find things that not everybody else is doing.
And I totally stole Krista's thunder because I was doing property type this whole time.
Oh,
and
shit.
it's really supposed to be real estate experience, so if you want to jump back up there, you can.
I actually will, because I think what's really cool, just some of the other things that I can give you like personal experience about. Besides the fact that I met my husband through YPN, YPN has been a huge referral source for me. We only work by referral only. So we don't farm, we don't go tell our agents how to do anything for us. We just simply work by referral. And what's great is I think if you said, hey, Rebecca, who would you send us to in San Antonio? She's going to give you Krista and Philip Becker. If you said, hey, Jorge, I need somebody in the outskirts of San Antonio, he's going to say, you need to call Philip Becker because he sells farm and ranch out there. But I think what's really cool is the relationships through that, and then also the different circles. So while she might be a YPNer and an RPAC and major investor, she might also have a C2X, and that's in itself its own referral group. Women's Council, you name it, all of these different committees are your own referral group within itself. And that's kind of how you just spiral you get out of working full-time and farming for people, and people just start keeping you in the front of their mind.
Location type, so whether it's downtown, the beach. I actually know of several agents in larger cities that they only sell in one building. They literally sell just this one building. They know everything there is to know about it. It's easy for them because they already know all of the, the HOA. They know everything about it. And so it takes out like so much of the work that I would have to do if I was going to sell in that building away because they already know that. Maybe it's your own neighborhood. Maybe it's, any demographic or area that you can break that into. A lot of people think like, okay, well, I'm taking away a lot of, basically taking a lot of buyers off the table if I'm not working with people that don't buy in that community. No, because you're branding yourself as the expert in that community, so everyone in that community is using you. And by doing that, then you're really making it a lot easier for yourself than if you tried to go across town and sell and learn everything about a new building. So
I think you said the same thing too. You talked about how you're just like solely focused on gated subdivisions on some of the areas, and
yeah, I mean, for me, because I like paddleboard waterfront. If I can paddleboard to the house, I'll sell it. But if it's in a gated community on a state with a big pool, I'll paddleboard.
okay.
But
So there you go.
And think about that. I mean, that's so great. That's like the perfect example of what we're saying here is like, not only did you take something that's an interest to you, you've now created a niche around it. Now, you could create so much marketing around that. You can, I mean, there's so much to run with. And who would have ever thought that like someone
Stand-up
enjoying
paddleboarding.
paddleboarding would be like where they find their niche, right? And I mean, I don't think I've said this for a while because I have been trying to eat less of it, but like I eat Dairy Queen all the time, like every night, a
Lots of
Reese's
blizzards.
Blizzard.
Lots of blizzards.
I've like been trying to cut back to like 5 nights a week, like take a couple days off.
Y'all like think she's kidding.
And, like
She's
my
not.
whole goal in life has been to try to figure out a niche around my love of Dairy Queen, and I haven't figured it out yet, but I'm still working on it. So, but like again, like it's such a random thing that you love. I know that like you can horses, like if you own horses, if you're interested in horses, like just make it that. Make it, you instantly connect with your buyers. You have that instant, like, just
Connect. Yeah. You relate to them, right? So you want to be relatable. You don't want to just be this busy professional person that they only interact with like this. They want you to have a personality. They want you to have feelings and charm, but they want you to also be unique and genuine to yourself. So it's really important that you find something, again, that you're really passionate about.
how to find your niche market. If your brand were to disappear tomorrow, who would truly miss you?
So think about what your business offers. Is there a point of differentiation that you have? Is there a core service or product offered that you're offering that no one else is? Look at your competitors. Is there something that they're not offering that you could be offering?
Think about what you value as a consumer. I know that one thing that I always mention when I'm working with a client is like, I will talk you out of more deals than I will talk you into. Like there's so many times when, your average realtor would just, like someone's like, oh, I'm interested in this property. They wouldn't like do the digging that I do and all of that. And that's what I would appreciate in someone on my behalf is like, I don't want you to sugarcoat anything. I want you to tell me exactly what I'm dealing with. I want you to make sure that I'm not making a bad decision. It shouldn't matter. So that for me, that oversight is what I would want in someone, and that's how I handle my business.
I think it's important too, like you guys talked about, like doing the seller's disclosure and doing your due diligence up front. If you're going to waste your time showing a property, why not find the seller's disclosure and provide it to your client first? Because if they found something on there, why do you want to waste your time?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it makes sense that we do our job to the most efficient way possible so that we're not wasting our time or our client's time.
And at the end of the day, like, because I've done that for so long and because, I've worked with the same clients for so long, now if I say, hey, take a look at this property, they take me seriously and they don't ask as many questions about it because they know I've already done my due diligence on it.
I think it's also important that, you as a consumer outside of real estate, what intrigues you? What are you avoiding? What sales tactics drive you batshit crazy that you want to be like, I never want to do that to my client ever? I think for me, a lot of times, and you guys know, we have title reps, like everyone's a title rep, I get it. I cannot stand the just generic text messages that are sent to 5,900 agents or the videos, and I'm like, if you're gonna take the time to do this, please take the time to personalize this. Please take the time to at least make it look like you're personalizing it and making it genuine, not sending it to everybody on your thread. I think that that's really important. I also think that you guys know as a consumer what you are willing to pay more for. So I learned today that he charges 7% for some of his commission structures. So that might work for some of your people. It might not work for everyone, but I think it's really important that you really know what you're willing to pay more for so that you can include that for your services to your clients. It's really important. Make a list of your strengths. So what are your past hobbies? What other jobs have you had? I worked at Applebee's. So when I got my real estate career in California, I called up everybody I knew that was going to be buying a house in a couple years, and I said, hey guys, I'm getting into real estate. do you guys want to buy a house? And they're like, no, we're still working at Applebee's, so we don't want to do that. And I'm like, cool, but you're going to be there someday, and that's the important part. I think you could also relate to different groups. So if you're in a different group that's B&I, or you're in a different networking group that's for the local city or even your Chamber of Commerce, those are all definitely good places.
Look at your competitors, services they're lacking, filling gaps. So for me, when I first got into I have no family in real estate. I have no history in real estate. I was working in the commercial loan department at US Bank, and I would see borrowers coming in, and they were either using a residential agent for their like multifamily purchases that was trying, but they were a little bit out of their element, or they were using a commercial agent, which I don't know if there's any of those in the room. Any commercial agents? Good. Well, they're assholes. So, like commercial agents, they really are. Commercial agents just have that like this
Stigma.
mentality of just kind of being jerks, right? So they were either working with a residential agent who was trying, or a commercial agent who didn't really care about them or the relationship they were building, just getting the deal done. And I just saw this opportunity for, again, this little niche where, I could take a residential approach to commercial real estate. So that's like from having that realization to basically putting in my notice at the bank because I freaking hated it, was like 5 days. And what I did is I went to, it's probably illegal now that I think about it, but I went to like the files and I found like the top 5 borrowers within the bank who were buying multifamily property, which is what I wanted to sell, and just reached out to them and said, hey, like I'm thinking about doing this, would you be willing to use me as your realtor? And 3 of them said, hey, yeah, like we're not really tied to anyone, so we would give you a shot. And I knew that, like I did the math, I knew that I might be eating like ramen noodles every night, but if I just had their business, that I could make it work. So to this day, 2 of those 3, one moved away, but 2 of those 3 clients are still my biggest clients today, and I probably do with each of them about $5 to $7 million a year with those 2 clients. So for me, I found just an opportunity in what was lacking because nobody was taking care of that part of the business.
For my husband, Philip, he started his brokerage 12 years ago, but their big thing is video production. So from day one in the business, he had an in-house video production team, which 12 years ago in San Antonio, nobody was doing. Still to this day, 20% of the realtors do it, maybe. But what's really cool is he saw the need for good video production so that people could accurately market a property. We're not talking a slideshow where you piece a bunch of photos together. We're not talking about, you might have gotten a gimbal or shot or two. We're talking about a fully produced video that's going to have a voiceover overlaid on it so that you're walking through the home getting an entire picture of the home. You're going to see that house because you've seen it already, and you're going to see it in person because you want to just confirm that. That was something that he saw that was lacking in San Antonio, and it's something that's been his point of differentiation for the rest of his career. So I think to this day, we are probably one of 3 brokerages in San Antonio that have an in-house video production team, but that has allowed us to be so different. I do a full video production for any property management rental I take. I don't know any property managers that do a full rental video for their listings. But I do think that that's translated to more property management business and then also more property management sales, and so it all goes hand in hand.
And it's weird in this market, like people hesitate to do that because they know things will sell so quickly. It's like, why would I do that video? But you have to remember how much marketing that provides and the fact that you're doing it, and that's another way to.
And it shows you're consistent, right? So like our clients know that not one of our agents can take a listing without it having our full video production done. Every listing that we put on the market from our company will have a branded video, will be completely done up, and it will not cost the agent anything. That's wonderful for them, but it will absolutely make consistency in our branding more consistent. So learn from your audience. One of the biggest things that I think Rebecca even tapped into today is like you can engage with your followers on social media. You can do polls, you can do surveys, you can send out a group message just trying to figure out what is it that they're looking for. Learning from them is going to be really important when it comes to tailoring your content to them. I think that's probably like all I've got on that one.
I think one thing that I've heard, and I can't even remember, I would love to give them credit, but I don't remember who had said this at one point, but they do like an exit interview with their clients. So like, how did you find me? How did I meet your expectations? How did I not? Like, what was different than what you expected? Like, just like a 5-question kind of exit interview, and I think that that's a really good way to build your
That's an awesome idea.
Too. Search through reviews, kind of the same thing.
I
what are
was
people
thinking like
choosing?
searching through your competitors' reviews. So if you have someone that you're like, hey, this person is amazing, I want to do what they're doing, go look at their reviews on Google, on Facebook, on Yelp, on wherever they're getting reviews. That's going to tell you what their clients think is lacking on their end that you can probably provide that they're not. So that's when I say search through reviews, like find the deeper need that they're putting out there in their review for the client.
And this just came to mind too, because I know usually when you're looking at reviews, if there's negative reviews, it's like based around communication. Like they didn't, they didn't communicate enough. I feel like the niche could be that you answer your phone.
Especially right now.
We're at right now. Think about HR relocation companies, so that's just another opportunity.
Looking at existing groups. So researching social media, I think that one of the things I've instructed our agents to do is when they're farming a subdivision, 9 out of 10 times there's a Facebook group that's for that subdivision. So they can go in there and they can add themselves to this group if it's public, obviously. And hopefully once they're in there, they can become the resource for that community. So I've instructed them to like find out when a holiday is coming or what's happening, and then be the local expert for them and know what's going on around there, any schools, any festivals, anything like that.
And you could take that the direction of like, so if historic homes is what you want to
Yes.
focus on, I mean, there's Facebook groups and there's like community groups all the time that focus on that.
Yeah, I mean, you guys could even go into lab coat agents referrals and probably find niche just based off of posts that you've seen in there.
You could also look at, I feel like we should move through. Look at interest lists and category lists and identify keyword search. So the riches are in the niches, but the fortune is in the follow-up. So none of this matters if you do not follow through, follow up, and have consistency.
I tell our new agents every time I meet with them that the first thing I had done, if I had just put a CRM together from day one with all of my clients that I'd met or anybody that come through an open house, if I had done that from the beginning, I would probably not be selling real estate still.
Yeah, I think this might be it. I can't remember.
Yeah.
So what I want to touch on is, so does anybody in here have a niche? I know we've talked about one. Does anybody else have something that they tend to be, to focus everything on? Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're top of mind for them when it comes to anything, even if it's like, hey, I'm not doing an investment deal, but I have a friend that might want to buy. Have you been able to do that?
And also, like, I still, even though I do it for a lower commission, I don't change my services. It's still, you get 100% of the service. It's just, if you're gonna give me all your quantity, then I usually will give it to them for a lower commission.
Yeah, and I know that like for me, one thing that's, and this really doesn't have anything to do with a niche, but like one thing that really worked for me in business is I'll only keep 7 clients at a time. So if I wanted to, I'll do like a one-off deal with other people, but like if I want to take on a new client, I get rid of one, and it kind of creates like exclusivity, like people want to like keep buying because they want to stay on that, stay on that
they wanna
list,
be
which seems cheesy and like would that really work? But it does. So like, and again, letting go of that one client that's like kind of the biggest headache each time I put somebody new in is such a like powerful feeling, and being able to like control your own headaches, I guess.
Has anybody farmed in here before or been farming this year? Geographical farming, okay. Have you guys had success with it this year? You should try switching it up multiple times and see what your best response rate is.
And I think
That's
too, like,
good advice.
don't, like, it takes a while for those things to start paying off. So don't like realize that your tactic hasn't worked as much as you thought it should in this amount of time and then totally abandon it and change something else, because like just when you're abandoning it is when it's getting a foothold.
I think they say that 80% of people choose their realtor or their salesperson after the 7th to 12th touch. So if that helps at all. I have some agents that I've been helping farm in our office. And the first farming letter we did, it was a simple letter. It wasn't very long. I did make him hand sign everything and the whole 9 yards. But he got 4 calls. 1 to say, please don't ever send me anything again, and then 3 listing appointments off of 1 letter. What was really cool was he got 1 of the listings. That seller referred him another client in the subdivision. Well, because he had that next listing, he took that as a second mailer and sent out another letter. And then that next mailer ended up with a 3rd listing. So out of his mailers, he's had 3 listings, and 1 of them's going on the market this week. But I do think that there are people that if you can provide a content or provide knowledge that you are a local expert in their community, they're definitely going to reach out to you. It just will take some time, because you're just somebody sending something in their mailbox. Like, they're going to need to see how consistent you are to make sure that they come back to you.
And especially once you get that first listing and they also see your sign when they drive through the neighborhood as like a second.
Everybody else is going to recommend you after that.
Yep.
That was gonna be my next thing, so I got 2 signs, like school sign vendors.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that there's a lot of realtors on the schools that are there. Like, should you just do it anyways because it's their option, or would you not even?
I personally, I think it's a waste.
Yeah, I would find something that everyone isn't doing or find a different avenue.
Yeah. Unless you can find something creative that really stands out to them.
That would
as
be
far as
unique
design
to
goes.
yours versus everybody else's.
Yeah.
No, you're good. So what I would tell you, and this is just what I tell our agents, is I would tell them to find a subdivision that you can market to the whole one. So 150 homes, 200 homes. When you're going through that list, if you can partner with a title person, 9 out of 10 times, I think they'll provide to you that same data without you having to pay for it. And then it's going to tell you if it's owner occupied or non-owner occupied. And then what I tell our agents is once you've sent your mailers out a couple of times, go door to door and introduce yourself and put a face to the name. And you know when you go to that door, if it's owner occupied, if they're a tenant. And you're gonna send a mailer to the owner saying, let me sell your property, but you're gonna try to turn that tenant into a buyer.
And I think this is, I mean, first of all, I've done no farming ever. When people say farming, I'm from Iowa. I'm like, we do like pigs, corn, like what one? So I don't have a lot of experience with farming, but just listening to this and that like, even though you're farming a certain area, like she said, unless it's small enough that you're like really focusing in on a super small area, I think you're not finding your niche. So I think your efforts would almost be better off if you found like a club or a group or something and just like marketed yourself to that, because I think right now you're just throwing everything against the wall and hoping something sticks. Whereas if you can figure out a way, whether it's a common interest or, you know, just maybe you only sell like mid-century modern homes or something like that. Like I don't think you have a lot of those in Miami, but you know what I mean? Like unless you can like really like
Narrow it down
to that, what you're doing is just kind of throwing a lot out there and hoping that they pick you.
So unless you're going to like hone in on that subdivision and just what's happening there or like around it, that's really important.
And you almost want to reason why it's that subdivision.
Yeah.
So whether it's that you live there or that like, you know, you've sold there in the past or
You grew
something
up
like
there,
that.
something.
Because odds are if you just picked it because it's high value homes or something like that, it means it's, and other realtors are seeing that same thing and they're probably marketing the same thing.
I did it for my neighbor, because it's my neighborhood. And my
Okay,
Yeah, so that's
perfect,
good. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
so my broker was like, just target your neighborhood.
Yep.
Because it's your bread and butter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and you know it.
And I would tell you also, like, I wouldn't narrow it down based on like how long they've owned the home. I would just ask the title person or your rep to like give you a based on equity. So they'll be able to tell you how much equity they have in the home. Okay, perfect. Nice.
Yeah.
Create a club, create a Facebook group. If you guys don't have a private group, create the group.
Or give something of value. So when you're sending your mailers, first of all, say you live there, but then create like a blog that has like, you're creating a post about this dog park one week, and then the next week you're creating a post about like, you know, this
restaurant
neighborhood cookout or this, yeah,
I would
something
even
like that.
say, like, venture so far as to go local, and I tell our agents to do this with their mailers. You can find a local business or restaurant that's around that subdivision that will give you a coupon
Yeah.
because it's simply going to bring business in their door, and it's going to promote a business you're promoting, so you're getting cross-promotion. And then on top of it, people think that you actually are considering other businesses in the community as well when you're doing your marketing. So I think it's win-win for that one. But I do tell our agents, though, just so you know, like, they should, if they're not getting a response, they shouldn't give up until they've done it 12 times. Like, it has to be a year-long commitment. If you don't do it,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
You're
Yeah, you
almost there,
definitely
don't worry. And don't give up, but I would make sure you're consistent.
yep.
And the other thing you can do, like, when things are happening, like, if you're gonna have, like, a national night out, be the barbecue person. Like, have a barbecue there with your banner so that people know you're providing that for the community. I mean, there's a ton of ways, like, I even told our agents during COVID, I'm like, people don't want to be touched, stand at their community exit by the gate and hand out donuts with your sticker on them. Like, whatever you have to do on National Donut Day, like, you can be in front of people and be responsible about it and still, you know, target your audience.
Join your HOA. Like, that's a really great way to,
Yeah.
if you have an HOA. Oh,
Yeah, but that's another way, I would say. We didn't even think about that.
yeah.
Any other questions about niches?
No.
Suggestions?
Sure, like, everyone's like so ready to go.
So my husband and I let them call us, and they were trying to get us to find another property. And we simply said that because we had presented all of the information and done our due diligence and they didn't have practical expectations, there was not going to be a way for us to get them to the closing table.
She was much more graceful about it than I was, because I was.
To be fair, that was the second $1 million client I fired. The first one I fired was when it was my great aunt and $1 million listing. She wasn't going to accept an offer. It wasn't because she was getting offers from people she knew. It was because she was emotionally attached to the property and her son had passed and she just wasn't ready. So when that happened, and I was literally at a concert on a Tuesday night, and she's like, if you're not going to sell my house, then I'll find someone that will. And I'm like, just because I'm at a concert on Tuesday night doesn't mean that I haven't done everything else to get your property sold, and I brought you an offer and you're like, I'm not willing to respond to that or counter because I'm too big for this. And like, dude, if you're emotionally attached to the property, I get it, but let's just set the right expectation. And that's literally what it comes down to, is the expectation wasn't set. And that might have been my fault in the beginning, but now I know, like, if I can't get them to the closing table, I'm not going to waste my time.
Yeah. So for me, it was just like basically
You're fine.
I'm clearly never going to please you. This isn't working out.
Yeah.
Find someone else. Like, it just, like, because but mine, it came to a head. You know what I mean? It was just like a different.
When she has a fun, a fun idea with that too. Next time that happens, send that to another person and create a referral source for yourself. So send that to another agent and make money off of their deals for the rest of forever, and everybody
and I still
wins.
do. I still make money off of that client. I'm sure he doesn't know that.
Yeah. Anything else? Any past experiences? How we've learned all the wrong ways?
All right. Anything is a niche if you try hard enough. There's nothing's too small.
So you find one thing and just focus and.
Yep.
Yeah. An example was my husband. I told you guys was into into production, video production. They became margarita experts. So they did what's called Margarita Mondays, and once a month for years, they went around to every restaurant in San Antonio and rated the margaritas, and they gave them limes. They were either 5 lime, 4 lime, or from there. And that became his thing. So now if you go to sanantoniomargaritas.com, he owns that website. There's 100 videos of different rated margaritas around San Antonio, and people have literally just been like, oh, I was at this restaurant and I met my realtor there because he was buying drinks for us and margaritas.
Well, the beautiful thing about that is not only that, but now you have the restaurant sharing the video because they're proud of,
Their
whatever,
content,
they're
yep.
sharing it. So that's a whole nother group of people that you're reaching. And also, you're their biggest fan, so they're referring you out to everyone as well. So that was always something that I thought was really cool, Philip.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to report back to you guys when I figure out how to make Dairy Queen a niche. So that's my challenge. We're going to figure it out. All right, I need it. It's gotten bad. Like, I had one time where, and I still haven't determined if this is a high or a low point in my life, but, I go every night, and I go every night at 9:30, and, they always say, because I travel a lot, so they always say, are you going to be here tomorrow? And I'll say yes or no, and so I was there the night before, and they're like, are you going to be here tomorrow? And I said yes, and, it's to the point where they just hand my thing out. They see me pulling around, they start making it. But they're like, are you going to be here tomorrow? And I said yes, and then I don't know, something came up, I was running late or something, and at 9:40 my phone rang, which I'm like, this is weird, and I answered my phone, and it was Dairy Queen saying, hey Krista, we were just wondering if you're still coming tonight.
I feel like they were checking to see if you're alive. That was like a wellness check all in itself.
It took me a minute, and I was like, how did you get my phone number? And well, remember,
You're a realtor.
The building across the street listed for a while, and I was like, you're right, I did. So I guess I kind of have already created a
Top
fan
of
group
mind
within
awareness.
Dairy Queen. So if anybody, you want to know? Oh, only if you promise to get it. Okay, it's a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup Blizzard with a squirt of peanut butter sauce. The peanut butter sauce is what makes it, so you have to have it. I get the same thing every night, every time. Like 290 days a year. With a squirt of peanut butter sauce.
I think if there's a blizzard warning,
Yes.
if there's ever a blizzard warning in Des Moines, you should buy your past clients is 3 years plus of blizzard.
Agreed, yeah. I'll gladly do that. And if there's ever a blizzard warning, and we have blizzard warnings all winter long. That's all we have. Yes!
I was like,
I'll be buying a lot of Dairy Queen.
I'm like, she's going to be busy.
No, so she's in Texas and I'm in Iowa. Yes, yeah.
YPN.
Yeah.
So Krista was involved with leadership. She was becoming chair, but we didn't really know it, I think. And she was in California. She'd come for one of our speaking engagements at our YPN conference there, and we met that way.
And someone had already told me you need to get to know Krista. So she was kind of on my
She
radar.
was my tap you on the shoulder and you need to stay involved friend.
It sounds creepy, but I used to make a hit list of people that I have heard about or known or whatever, but that I hadn't met yet. So she was on my hit list one time.
And it
I
worked.
feel like those.
Oh, Krista Becker Realtor.
Krista Clark 22, but I'm not great at it.
Yeah.
I never
Mine's
post.
mostly about my dog. I'm not the real estate
I
person
know.
on Instagram. I'm great at telling you what I do. I just like to show all the fun stuff in my life, not that kind of stuff.
I'm just trying to manage expectations when you get to mine. I doodle. So that's the other, that's the other
Digital
thing.
doodle thing is cool.
I do. What's that?
Do you have any pull up, any easy street
I do, but not, I don't know, this is not my computer. No, probably not. Shit, I don't know. This is not my niche. No, I do doodle though, yeah. But they'll see them if they, yeah, if you follow me on Instagram. Always. It's the first thing I ever did. So since 2007. So how many? 14 years. Yeah. And it's great. And again, it's so much easier because I know everything about it. Like when I'm like going to a showing or a walkthrough or a closing or whatever, it's like I've had this experience before. I know what to look out for. I know, like, I've made all the mistakes. People who trusted me in the first few years were not right because I was probably screwing everything up. But now I feel like it's natural, it comes easy, and it's what I do. All right, anything else? Otherwise, we're good. Thank you guys. Thanks for having us.
If I find my way home, yeah. Wouldn't it be crazy? Don't you still amaze me? Wouldn't it be crazy? Don't you still amaze me? Wouldn't it be crazy? Don't you still amaze me? Wouldn't it be crazy? Don't you still amaze me? If I find my way home, yeah. If I find my way home, yeah. Wouldn't it be crazy? Don't you still remain?